Hello everybody, welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic, hope you're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of the brand new film, Blue Beetle. Oh man, so many things have already been said about this movie, especially after the really silly comments from the director, but I'm here to try to tell you the good, and unfortunately the mostly bad. But there are some good things in here that definitely need to be pointed out. Before any further though, please make sure you smash that like button, live that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and smash the rumble button as well. And also make sure that you're subscribed to the channel with that bell notification on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. So Blue Beetle stars Xolo Maridueña. I'm probably mispronouncing that name, but many people know him from Cobra Kai fame. And I will say he is definitely one of the bright spots of this movie. Just like we've seen in Cobra Kai, he is the heart of that show. He in many ways is also the heart of this movie, but ultimately it's also his family. And I do think that the actors that were cast to play his family all did a pretty good job. They were all felt like they had this cohesion. They all felt like they were connected to each other in that familial way that you want to see on screen. You want to believe that the people that you're seeing on screen might actually be related to each other in real life, and you really honestly feel that, and you feel that in the emotion and the passion that they show towards one another. And I think ultimately one of the best moments and one of the best items of this movie is the actor that actually plays his father in the film, right? Plays Blue Beetle's father in the film, because honestly, he is the heart and soul of that entire family. He is the driving force of that family. And so I think that it is ultimately a good thing. This has a good family message. It is a very pro-family message, and you really don't get that a whole lot in most modern day films. That is absolutely true. And I think that most people who are going to be coming out saying that that is something worthy of praise, that's something that they came away really liking, are spot on the money, because I do definitely think that that had a really good impact on the film, right? The character of Jaime Reyes, right? He obviously needs his family and he relies on them for pretty much everything. It does get, I think, towards the end a little bit on the silly side with some of the actors, and I think that you definitely see this in some aspects of the trailer as well, how some of his family members can somehow do things that just do not make any sense whatsoever, and they try to play it off as, oh, well, you know, there's something in this person's past that allows them to do something that otherwise you wouldn't think. It still just does not come across as realistic. And I know that it's a comic book movie, and obviously we're supposed to be able to suspend our belief for just a little bit, but ultimately it feels like it kind of goes just a little bit too far, because as much as these films do want to be very fantastical, they also try to be grounded in reality to a certain extent, right? They establish that their universe has certain rules and that those rules need to be followed. And sometimes I feel like, especially nowadays, even more so, nowadays with these kinds of movies, they tend to either change their rules, break their rules, or just skirt around them just a little bit. But ultimately, the family dynamic of this film is the best part of it. That's pretty much where all the positive stuff ultimately ends, because everything else about it just comes across as lazy, and just comes across as just lacking that thing that these superhero movies have been lacking for quite a long time. This is yet another one of these just very generic action superhero movies, and you just do not feel invested in the actual character, in the actual hero, I should say, right? So it's one thing that you have this great story of this family dynamic, and that is a very interesting part of the film, but everything with Blue Beetle, everything with the origin of the Scarab, everything with Susan Sarandon's character, and all those other backgrounds are just so uninteresting. They fall flat. They just feel like everything has been done before, because obviously it all has been done before, and there's nothing new. There's also, other than the family, no real sense of stakes in the movie. Again, this is something that most of these films and most of these franchises have ultimately kind of lost the plot on, and this one really is no different, you know? And it says right here in the description how it's an ancient relic of alien biotechnology, the Scarab, and really not a whole lot is run with when it comes to the origins of this item or the origins of this technology. In fact, for a moment, I even forgot that it was supposed to be alien technology because of the way that it is played, because of the way that it is presented throughout the film. So I just, there's just so many moments in the movie where I'm like, man, this film honestly could have been really, really good. This film had the potential to be a surprise hit, as it were, but it just is not able to get there. You had the elements like the actors, especially Xolo Maridueña as Jaime Reyes. I think that honestly was great casting. You also have all of the actors cast as his family. I think George Lopez actually worked for the vast majority of the scenes that he was in this movie. Yes, he's hitting jokes. Yes, some of those jokes do not land very well, right? Not everyone's going to be a fan of George Lopez's delivery or his joking style, but he's also not joking all the time. There are moments when he gets serious. There are moments where you realize, okay, George Lopez can actually kind of deliver it in a few different ways, especially when a lot of drama happens within the family dynamic. And so it's really nice to see that. And I think the trailer, in many ways, was really confused. And I think that that's also one of the biggest problems of this film. This film does not know who it wants to be for. And I actually saw that even before the movie started, because when I saw the trailers for this movie, I kid you not, there was a trailer for Trolls, right? For Trolls 2, Trolls 3, whatever it is at this point. I think it's Trolls 3. There was also a trailer for the Paw Patrol movie. So I'm like, okay, this is gearing it towards little kids, right? Only kids are going to be really interested in those kinds of movies. And then the last trailer before the movie started was The Nun, whatever number Nun movie that we're on, and it was creepy and scary. There was a family in my back row. By the way, no one was in my theater. I think there may have been 7 of us in the entire theater. This was one of the biggest screens at my local theater, and there was definitely a kid like in the back row who I kept hearing throughout the movie. At different times, parents were doing everything they could to try to quiet him down. So again, hey, kudos to them for at least trying. But I was like, oh man, I think he's probably going to be terrified by this, because even I was like, oh man, I don't like these movies in general. But man, the Nun trailer freaked me out. But the reason why I bring that up is because that trailer had no real business in the beginnings of this movie when you have it up alongside Trolls 2 and up the song Paw Patrol. You don't have The Nun and Paw Patrol before the same movie, and yet they did. And I think it's because part of this movie is trying to appeal to the family. It's trying to appeal to younger kids, right, with some of the jokes and with some of the elements of the movie. But then it's also still trying to bridge that gap with that older demographic, right? The 20-somethings, the late teens, who are obviously the driving force for most of these films and have been for many, many years when it comes to the superhero genre. And it just doesn't work when you try to bridge those things together in a very, very sloppy way. So ultimately, I think that the direction is just not handled very well. I think the writing is also really, really poor. I'm trying to see if I can pull up here the writer. So obviously, is it Angel or Angel Manuel Soto is the director on this film. The writer is Gareth Dunnett Alacoser, who has really done nothing. So I can't really say I'm all that surprised by that. I remember when the trailer for Miss Bala came out and it looked awful. So I can't really say I'm surprised that this movie is kind of a similar caliber that I would expect that movie to be. So the writing, I think, is just a giant mess. And I will have to say this because some people might ask, is it woke or are there woke elements? And I would say, for the most part, no. For the most part, it is, I think, a movie that's much more focused on the family unit, family dynamic, and then has a bunch of just silly, generic superhero movie stuff that most people are going to just kind of be like, I just don't care for this stuff anymore. But there are definitely some moments. There's a whole lot of conversations about gentrification of neighborhoods. There's also a whole subplot where Susan Sarandon's character is clearly a racist, right? I mean, she's calling this character Sanchez or something throughout the entire movie. He's like, that's not my name, and then leads to a big moment at the end. But I think ultimately it kind of just gets very old very quickly, because it's like, okay, the one main white character you have in the movie also happens to be terrible, but then also at the same time, at least they made it a white woman and not a white man. I guess that's somewhat of a, of a change from the typical standard, but it was clear that was definitely a part of the film. But I, again, can thankfully say that it's not the vast majority of the movie, and those moments are kind of dispersed throughout the entire film. So ultimately, what would I have to give this film as a grade? I'm going to have to go and give this film probably a C. C minus. And the only reason why I'm even going that high with it is honestly because I think the presentation, I think that the acting and the portrayal of Jaime Reyes is very, very good. I think that actor is just, again, he is able to present heart in such a way. When he is going through his transformation, the dude's bringing it. I mean, he is honestly trying everything that he can to give a great performance in this movie, and he does. And that also goes true for a huge portion of the rest of the supporting cast as well. Susan Sarandon is kind of there. Yeah, she's playing the evil person pretty well, but again, it's the evil person who's racist, and that's also something that's been tried and done before, and it's also just kind of old to keep on hearing that in 2023, right? When those types of mindsets and when those types of comments start to come out, there's mentions of the border and papers and stuff. Again, there's a lot of stereotyping in this movie too, which I found interesting because this film is supposed to be appealing to the Hispanic crowd, right? That's what everyone's been saying is, oh man, this film is over-indexing amongst Hispanic audiences and in pre-sales or things like that. And yet it stereotypes quite a bit in the film. And maybe those are stereotypes that some people might be able to connect with or find associations with. But I just, coming from where I saw the film, it just honestly came across as a jumbled mess. And so I'm going to have a go at this film, probably a C, leaning towards C- the more I think about the film and try to break it down. But that's not to say that there are not some good things in the film, but they're very few and far between in comparison to kind of all the generic and in certain cases even just terrible movie. But have you seen Blue Beetle? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Also, do you agree with my assessment on the film if you have seen it? Again, I think that there are worse things out there, but this is just definitely not a good film. You can definitely feel it has that feel of, hey, this should have gone straight to HBO Max. This should have just gone straight to streaming, and there it would have done maybe okay. But even going straight to streaming, it would not have been that huge of a success. Right now, the box office, the early indication that this movie is going to make possibly less than what Shazam 2 made. I can't imagine that this film is going to be that big of a hit based on what I saw. I was hoping, hey, maybe there's going to be that special spark. Maybe there's going to be that special something. And though the family dynamic is there, it is still surrounded by a 2-hour-plus movie filled with a lot of just silly nonsense most of the time. So let me know your thoughts though in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button. A lot of the fire button, and smash the rumble button. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a special shout out to all of my members at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above, starting off first with my members over on Patreon: Father Luca Illick, Heimir Irie Hymason, Garrett Searles, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Orange Chat Reviews, check out his YouTube channel by the same name, Laura, the Monomator General's Story, Rosetta Allen, check out her YouTube channel, Eagle Rider, and Miss Martin Muses, check out her YouTube channel by the same name as well. To my subscribe star peeps, Zion Voders, Matt317, check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Fast Reaction, The R, Mr. Roy, J-Rod, The Beer Guru, and ZK-Man, who you can check out over at xtheboundaries.co. And lastly, to my locals members, Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan, How About a Hockey Player, J.H. Schwalbach, and Robert Barnes, the amazing lawyer. So thank y'all very much for being my supporters at the Keep of the Bifrost level and above. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out that top link in the video description below to find out ways to sign up to support the channel and to be able to get access to things like the shoutouts, but also to giveaways. I have an exclusive giveaways channel on my Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff, and also access to an exclusive podcast that I do once or twice a month, depending on what I'm able to get accomplished, especially over the course of this crazy, crazy busy summer. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.